Hello everyone! Today I will talk about the water footprint. How far do you know about the water? Example of water footprint and the different type of food. For example, alright everyone, do you know about ISO 14046 and what relationship between water footprint and ISO 14046?
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Hi, we are back in our second video about water footprint ISO 14046. And number 6, providing consistent and reliable information which are based on scientific evidence for reporting water footprint results.
But wait, do you want to know about the method for water footprint assessment? Really? You do? Okay, if yes, stay tuned for our next video.
Hi everyone, see you again. Are you ready for this video? Yeah, so let's start. So, do you want to know how to do the report of water footprint assessment? If yes, stay tuned for the next video.
Assalamualaikum and good morning everyone. Welcome to e-conference Water Footprint ISO 14046. I am Diana Christina with my partner Izana Zura will be entertaining you guys as I'm MC for today. I would like to remind everyone, please keep your mic in mute along the e-conference and please stay tuned until the end of our e-conference to claim your e-certificate and free gift. Without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Muhammad Nur Shahidi alias to recite a prayer.
Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim, we gather here today to express our gratitude for your invaluable blessings. Make us your servants who are always thankful on the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. Ya Fattahu, Ya Alim, indeed you are all-knowing and you know that we are here to learn a little of your vast knowledge through our potential as your blessed servants. Hence, please grant us your blessing for this incomparable water footprint today. Bestow upon us your endless knowledge. Lift our heart with your light and guidance with the hope that it will be easier for us to receive, comprehend, and implement it. Ya Zal Jalali wa Ikram, grant us with healthy body, brilliant mind, peace in our soul, and strength in our spirit, in the hope that we can face challenges, be competitive, and able to rise to the dignity of ourselves, family, organization, society, and our country. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين آمين آمين يا رب العالمين.
Amin Amin Ya Rabbal Alamin. The purpose of today's e-conference is to spread knowledge about water footprint and ISO 14046. Besides ongoing events through Google Meet, we are also currently on live Facebook. Everyone that would like to watch this e-conference through Facebook Live can click on the link in the chat box. Thank you. Now, let's begin with our first video. But before that, let me share a little info about our first video. Water footprint is important towards the sustainable concept of freshwater resources. Water footprint is in our steps of daily life. Most people think of water only from their tap. So what is the water footprint? Let's watch this video and enjoy.
Hello everyone! Today I will talk about the water footprint. In our content, I will include the water. Secondly is about the water footprint. And next is direct and indirect water use. And lastly is about the component of water footprint. How far do you know about the water? Actually, 70% of Earth's surface covered in water. But how could we ever run out? In fact, only about 0.5% of the total water on Earth is readily available for human. In this figure show that the salt water is about 97%, while the fresh water is only 2.5%. 2.5% is fresh water that is frozen as polar ice or stored as groundwater. In this graph tell us that in first basis on 1990, agriculture are the highest rather than municipal and industrial waste of water. But in 2005, municipal are the higher than industrial and agriculture of water use. Alright, next is show a graph which is the countries that are most dependent on others for water. As we can see, Kuwait is the highest country that are most dependent on water, which is 100%, and followed by the Turkmenistan with the 97%, while Niger is the lower percent of countries that dependent on water for only 89.72%. Did you know what is water footprint? Water footprint is anything that we are use, wear, buy, sell, and also eat. Water footprint also can describe by the measures the amount of water used to produce each of the goods and services we use. Now, we move to what footprint can help on. Firstly, water footprint help on our limited freshwater resources are being consumed and polluted. Secondly, is cubic matrices per ton of production. Thirdly, measures per hectare of cropland. Next is per unit of currency and in other functional units. And lastly is impact it has depends on where the water is taken from and when. Water footprint can calculate any a group of consumer for single process or any product or services, which is single person, family, industry, and also a country. Here are the example of water footprint in the different type of food. For example, burger use about 2,500 of water. So, if we multiply per year, it become 912,500 of water use. And how about we get a tea? So 90 multiply 365 is become 32,850. If we total this type of food, it's become 945,350. Wow, it's so much use of water. We also use other type of food in our daily life. So, do you can imagine how much we use the water footprint? Next, we move to the next topic, which is the direct and indirect water use. Water use is water consumption from all aspects throughout the production cycle from processing to end user. Water use have two types, which is direct water use and indirect water use. The definition of direct water is use water directly by the individual. For example, we use the water for a shower, brush your teeth, wash the car, and also for the drinking. For the indirect water, bring the definition of use of water to generate a final product typically not associated with water. As example, water used in manufacturing metals and rubber to make the bicycle. Next is about reduce of direct water use. Actually, what we can do? Firstly, we can drop our use of tissue into the trash instead of flushing down to the toilet. It will save gallons each time. Secondly, run the dishwasher and closes washer only when full, and it will save up to 1,000 gallons a month. Next, we need to turn off the water while brushing our teeth. You know, it will save 25 gallons of water a month. And lastly, we can take a shower instead of bath, because a short shower only uses 10 to 25 gallons only. Now, we move to reduce indirect water use. Actually, there are many ways that we can do, but this is quite often that we do. Number 1. Buy only the food that we can eat before it goes bad. Indirect water is needed to produce fruit, vegetable, grains, meat and also dairy. Number 2. Skip the meat in your meal 1 day a week, depending on how far back you go in the production chain. A hamburger can use up to 1,300 gallons of water to produce. Number 3. We need to purchase cloth items made with synthetic materials. And last but not least, we can do a reduce, reuse and recycle. Is one of the best ways. This figure shows the component of water footprint. Blue is referred to the consumption of surface water resources and groundwater throughout the production chain of a particular product. This element refers to the volume of water used and evaporated or incorporated into a product. While for the green color refer to the consumption of water contained in plants and soil in the form of moisture without being part of any surface or body of ground water like rainwater. And lastly, for the gray color refer to the pollution of water resources. Gray element is defined as the volume of fresh water needed to dilute the pollutant load produced by a particular process, and it will able to maintain a naturally uncharged concentration and water quality standard from its original. This figure shows that the water consumption and pollution consumption between the direct water footprint and also the indirect water. So now we move to the summary. As we know, water covers the Earth's surface about 70%. Kuwait is the country that most dependent on others for water. Next, the definition of water footprint is measure the amount of water used to produce each of the goods and services we use. For water use, there are two types of water use, which are direct and indirect. Direct is by the individual and indirect use water to generate a final product. Now, we go through about the way to reduce. Here are the 4 example way to reduce direct and indirect water use. So now, we go through the component of water footprint, which is firstly, surface water resources and groundwater. Second, water content in plants and soil. And lastly, pollution of water resources. Alright everyone, do you know about ISO 14046 and what relationship between water footprint and ISO 14046? Alright, stay tuned guys. See you to next video and thank you.
Wow, very informative video and good introduction of water footprint. So, after this, we will show the second video. The issue of water management becomes serious to the global debate on sustainable development. To improve the water management, one technique which is water footprint assessment have been developed. International standard is expected to ensure consistency in assessing and reporting water footprint of product, process, and organization. So what we waiting for? Let's start the video.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. Hi, we are back in our second video about water footprint ISO 14046. So, for the second video, we are going to share with you guys four content, which are number one is introduction, second is water footprint assessment and scope, third is terms and definition, and number four is principles. So what you waiting for? Let's start!
Oh wait, before that, let's recap first what we have shared with you guys on our first video.
Do you guys remember what is water footprint? Water footprint is measures the amount of water used to produce each of the goods and services we use. We also talk about water use, direct and indirect way. Do you guys remember water footprint components? Yes, there are three water footprint components, which are blue, refers to consumption of surface water resources and groundwater throughout the production chain of a product. Example, irrigated agriculture, industry, and domestic water. Next is green water footprint, which refers to consumption of water contained in plants and soil in the form of moisture. Example, relevant for agricultural, horticultural, and forestry products. Last but not least, grey water footprint, which refers to the pollution of water resources. Example, considers point source pollution discharged to a freshwater resources. Without further ado, let's start first with introduction. The issue of water management becomes serious to the global debate on sustainable development. Water footprint assessment is the techniques being developed to improve water management at local, regional, national, and global levels. International standard is expected to ensure consistency in assessing and reporting water footprint of products, processes, or organizations. Okay, let's continue on second video agenda about water footprint assessment. According to the international standard, there are 6 elements that will gotta be highlighted. First, based on a life cycle assessment, which are ISO 14044. Second, about modular. Third, identities potential environmental impacts related to water. Fourth, relevant geographical and temporal dimensions. Fifth, quantity of water use and changes in water quality. And sixth, utilize hydrological knowledge. As everyone can see here, there are 6 points about water footprint assessment assist. Number 1, assessing the magnitude of potential environmental impacts related to water. Number 2, identifying opportunities to reduce water-related potential environmental impacts. Number 3, strategic risk management related to water. Number 4, facilitating water efficiency and optimization of water management of product, process, and organizational level. Number 5, informing decision makers in industry, government or non-governmental organizations of their potential environmental impacts related to water. And number 6, providing consistent and reliable information which are based on scientific evidence for reporting water footprint results. Okay, now let's move on to scope. There are 4 scopes that will be covered on.
First, international standards specific about the principles, requirements, and guidelines related to water footprint assessment of product, process, and organization based on life cycle assessment, also known as LCA. Next, international standard also provides principle, requirement, and guidelines for conducting and reporting. Followed by only air and soil emissions that impact water quality included in the assessment, and not all air and soil emissions are included. Last but not least, the results of water footprint assessment is single value or a profile of impact indicator results.
Okay, now let's jump to 3.1, terms relating to types and classification water. Type 1 is fresh water, where low concentration of dissolved solid less than 1000 mg per liter and acceptable for drinking after treatment. Second, surface water, rivers and lakes exclude seawater. Third, brackish water, low concentration dissolved solids less than seawater. Exit can form municipal, domestic, irrigation, and brackish water is about 1000 mg per liter to 30,000 mg per liter. Next is seawater. Seawater is sea and ocean. Concentration dissolved solid more than or equal to 30,000 mg per liter. Followed by groundwater, where underground formation, and types number 6 is fossil water, groundwater application by human. Type 7 is water body, where have characteristic based geographical, include biological, physical, and chemical. The examples are rivers, lakes, glaciers, groundwaters, seas, icebergs, and reservoirs. Next is drainage basin, where runoff surface from precipitation drains into water body, act as watershed such as drainage area, catchment area, and river basin. And lastly, elementary water flow, where drawn from environment to being studied, such as water cycle. Okay, now let's move on to terms relating water 3.2. There are 4 things that we're gonna share with you guys. Number 1, water use. It is by human activity. It relates to drainage basin. It gives impact to water quality. It's related with water consumption, such as evaporation, transpiration, integration of product. Water consumption refers to evaporation defined as release to different drainage or sea. Second is water withdrawal. It is anthropogenic removal of water from water body. It is also known as water abstraction. Third, water degradation. It is negative. They change water quality. And last but not least, water quality. Based on physical, chemical, biological water characteristic suitable use for human and ecosystem. Is everyone okay so far? Is everyone still with me? Okay, that's good. Because now we are on 3.3, terms relating to life cycle assessment and water footprint assessment. There are a lot of things that are going to be touched in this section. First is water footprint. Water footprint is a matrix that quantifies the potential environmental impacts related to water. As example, water scarcity footprint. Second, water footprint assessment. It is a compilation and evaluation of the inputs, outputs, and the potential environmental impacts related to water use or affected by a product, process, or organization. Third is comprehensive water footprint assessment. It is to consider all environmentally relevant attributes or aspects of natural environment, human health, and resources related to water, including water availability and water degradation. Fourth, life cycle. It is stages of a product system, and from raw material acquisition or generation from natural resources to final disposal. Next is life cycle assessment, also known as LCA. LCA is evaluation the inputs, outputs, and potential impacts based off life cycle. Followed by life cycle inventory analysis, also known as LCI. It is phase of life cycle product on inputs and outputs. In 3.3, also touch about water footprint inventory analysis. It is inputs and outputs related to water for products, processes, or organizations as stated in the goal and scope definition phase. It is also a potential impact to water. 3.3 also touch about system boundary, where set criteria specific for part of product system or activities and organization. Furthermore, is a cut-off criteria. It is excluded specific amount material, energy flow, or level environmental significance. Next is water footprint impact assessment. It is significant for environmental impacts to water of a product, process, or organization. Followed by impact category. It is life cycle inventory analysis as represent the environmental issues. Also touch about impact category indicator. It is quantifiable representation of an impact category. Besides that, 3.3 also consists of water footprint profile. It is complication of impact category indicator to address potential environmental impacts towards water. It is consists of two things. First is comprehensive, where water footprint profile, and second, not comprehensive, where it is needs with qualifier. Is categorization factor. It is a factor derived from a characterization model which is applied to convert and assign life cycle inventory analysis result to the common unit of the category indicator. Followed by environmental mechanism, it is a system of physical, chemical, and biological process for a given impact category linking the life cycle inventory analysis result to category indicators and category endpoints. Water availability. Availability of water resources for humans and ecosystem to fulfill their needed. It is depending on location and timing. But then, quality of water cannot fulfill user needed. It is also included for land water management, forestry, agriculture, conservation of wetlands, and hydropower, where can modify water availability, recharging groundwater. However, water scarcity if a water availability just consider quantity instead of quality. And last but not least, for 3.3 is water scarcity. It is demand for water compares to the replenishment of water in an area. An example can be given is a drainage basin without taking into account the water quality. Okay, now let's continue with 3.4, terms relating to interpretation and reporting of water footprint result. There are two things that will be covered on. First, comparative assertion. It is an environmental claim regarding the superiority, equivalence of one product versus a competing product that performs the same function. Second, interested party, person or organization that can affected by, or perceive themselves to be affected by the results of a water footprint assessment. Now, we have reached to 3.5, terms relating to products, product systems, processes, and organizations. There are 13 things that we're gonna be highlighted in this section. Number 1, product. It is goods or services such as software, hardware, process material, and agriculture product. Number 2, core product. Any of two or more products coming from the same unit processes or product system. Number 3, waste. And objects which the holder intends or is required to dispose of. Number 4, product system. It is collection of unit processes with product flows, performing defined functions, and which models the life cycle of a product. Number 5, functional unit. Quantify performance of product system, process, or organization for use as a reference unit. Number 6, reference flow. Measure of an output from processes to fulfill the function expressed by the functional unit. Number 7, product category. Group of products that can fulfill equivalent functions. Number 8, product category rules. Rules, requirements, and guidelines for developing Type 3 environmental declarations. Number 9, organization. Person or group of people with responsibilities, authorities, and relationships to achieve its objectives. Number 10, facility. Set of installations which can be defined within a single geographical boundary, organizational unit, or production process. 11, water footprint inventory. Result of a water footprint inventory analysis, including elementary flows which are usable for subsequent water footprint impact assessment. 12, direct water footprint inventory. considering inputs and outputs resulting from activities within the established organizational boundaries. 13. Indirect water footprint inventory, considering inputs and outputs which are consequences of an organization's activities. Now, let's proceed with 3.6, terms relating to data and data quality. There are three things that consist in 3.6. First, primary data, quantified value of a unit process obtained from a direct measurement or a calculation based on direct measurements at its original source. Second, secondary data, data obtained from sources other than a direct measurement or a calculation based on direct measurements at the original source. And third, uncertainty analysis, quantify the uncertainty introduced in the results of a life cycle inventory analysis due to cumulative effects of model imprecisions, inputs uncertainty, or data variability. Let's continue with principle conducting water footprint assessment. Fundamental and used as guidance for decision on planning, conducting, and reporting of water footprint assessment. According to international standard, water footprint assessment may be conducted and reported as standalone assessment or as a part of a life cycle assessment. Should be comprehensive and consider all relevant aspects relating to natural environment, human health, and resources. On principle, let's start first with life cycle perspective, where the shifting of potential environmental burden between life cycle stage and individual process can be identified and possibly avoided. Next, environmental focus, where assesses potential environmental impact related to water associated, and water footprint assessment combined with other tools for more extensive and complementary assessment. Third, relative approach and functional units, were related to functional unit and results calculated relative to this functional unit. Fourth, literative approach, where individual phases of water footprint assessment use result of other phases. Followed by transparency, where sufficient and appropriate information is disclosed to allow users of water footprint assessment make decisions with reasonable confidence. 6. Relevance, where data and methods selected that are appropriate to the water footprint assessment. Completeness, where all significant data will include in the inventory. Consistency, where assumptions, methods, and data are applied in the same way. Accuracy, where bias and uncertainties are reduced as far as it practicable. Besides that, also consists of priority of scientific approach, where decisions are preferably based on natural science. Geographical relevance also count in, where conducted at a scale and resolution which give relevant results according to the goal and scope of the study. And last but not least, comprehensiveness, where considers all environmentally aspects of natural environment, human health, and resources to water. Wow, we are almost end of our second video. But wait, let's recap first about ISO 14046. We have talked about water footprint assessment just now, right? So, water footprint assessment is a compilation and evaluation of the inputs, outputs, and the potential environmental impacts related to water use or affected by a product, process, or organization. Next is life cycle assessment, or also known as LCA. LCA is a compilation and evaluation of the inputs, outputs, and the potential environmental impacts of a product system throughout its life cycle. Now, let's mention one by one principle that consists in ISO 14046. We got life cycle perspective, environment focus, relative approach and functional unit, literative approach, transparency, relevant, completeness, consistency, accuracy, priority of scientific approach, geographical relevance, and comprehensiveness. That's all for our sharing session in second video. But wait, do you want to know about the method for water footprint assessment? Really? You do? Okay, if yes, stay tuned for our next video. Bye!
Great video with full of information about the water footprint assessment, life cycle assessment, and the principle. So now we will have a short break about 2 minutes. While enjoying the show, enjoy it.
Spider got 8 legs, and I got 2. This guitar's got 6 strings. What about you? Yeah. What do you got, girl? If you get it all for free. Better get it together, girl. I'm gonna take it all for free. Ain't moving, neither is a tree. That may be good for you, girl. That ain't good for me, no. I'm rolling, yeah. I'm taking what I need for free. Get yourself together, girl. Put it in the trunk of my car for free.
Hello, and we are back. Do you guys ever wonder what video that was just played is about? If you guys want to know, please stay tuned until the end of our e-conference. Now, let's continue with video of water footprint part 3. This video is contained about international standard, where it's expected to ensure consistency in assessing and reporting water footprint of products, processes, or organizations. So, how to calculate the water footprint assessment? Let's enjoy this video.
Hi everyone, see you again. Are you ready for this video? Yeah, so let's start. Okay, we'll recap first about ISO 14046 from the previous video. On that video, we have explained about water footprint assessment, life cycle assessment, and about the principle. So, in this video, I will cover 6 topics, which is the general requirements, goals and scope definition, water footprint inventory analysis, water footprint impact assessment, interpretation on the result, and last but not least, limitation of water footprint. So now, let's move to first topic, which is the general requirements. Water footprint assessment addresses the potential environment impacts related to water associated with a product, process, or organization. They have 4 phases of life cycle assessment in water footprint assessment. Firstly, goal and scope definition. Secondly, water footprint inventory analysis. Next is water footprint impact assessment, and lastly, the interpretation of the result. While the 3 phases of life cycle assessment in water footprint inventory, which is goal and scope definition, water footprint inventory analysis, and interpretation of the result. For the goal and scope definition, focus on goal of study, which is about the intended application, the reason for carrying out the study, and the intended audience to whom the result of the study are intended to be reported. goal of study also is stand-alone assessment or the part of a life cycle assessment, and the study is a part of life cycle assessment where comparative assertion is intended. In the scope of the study, the things should be considered in the scope of study is system boundary and organizational boundary, functional unit, temporal and geographical coverage, data and data quality requirements, cut-off criteria, allocation procedures, assumption, value choice and optional elements, water footprint impact assessment methodology, the result of the water footprint assessment, uncertainties and limitation, justification for exclusion from the study, baseline condition with which the current condition caused by the activities are being compared if applicable, and lastly, type of reporting and critical review. So now we talk about the system boundary, where the system boundary determines which unit processes should be included within the water footprint assessment, and it should be clearly identified. Selection of the system boundary should be consistent with the goal of the study. The criteria used in establishing the system boundary should be identified and explained. System boundary for the water footprint assessment should indicate whether it covers a specific product, process, or organization. If water footprint is to be determined for a product, the requirements and guidelines of ISO 14044 on the system boundary should be applied. But if water footprint assessment for an organization, the organizational boundary and the system boundary should be determined. Decision should be made regarding on unit process to include in the study, and the level of detail of the water footprint inventory analysis should be clear. Also, the input and the output should be included, and the level of detail of water footprint inventory analysis also should be clear stated. For data and data quality requirement, the data should be considered in data collection is the quantity of water used, type of water resources used, which is including for water withdrawal and water receiving body, data describing water quality, forms of water use, change in drainage, stream flow, groundwater flow, or water evaporation that arise from the land use change, land management activities, and other forms of water interception, location of water use, seasonal change in water flow, water withdrawal and release, or change in water quality, temporal aspect of water use, including timing of water use and length of water storage. Data quality collection, which is primary data and secondary data. The things that consider for data quality is time-related coverage, geographical coverage, technology coverage, precision, completeness, representativeness, consistency, reproducibility, and source of the data, including models when used, and also uncertainty of the information. For missing data, the treatment of missing data should be documented. The importance of the missing data should be assessed. Offsetting. Water footprint results should not include offsetting. Offsetting is a machine for compensating the water footprint of a product, process, or organization through activities which reduce water impact in a process outside the boundary of the product system. So now, let's move to water footprint inventory analysis. Water footprint inventory calculation. Firstly is calculating. Explicitly documented. clear assumptions, and consistent. Next is validation, which is conduct during the process of data collection and involve establishing. Thirdly is relating, which is the quantitative input and output data of the unit process should be calculated in relation to this flow. Next is care, which is the aggregating the inputs and outputs consistent. And lastly is refining, which is reflecting the interactive nature of water footprint assessment based on a sensitivity analysis. So, next is procedure for water footprint inventory analysis. Firstly, you need to identify the goal and scope definition, which is allocation, includes reuse and recycle. Then, preparation for data collection. Next is validation of data, relating data to unit process. Next step is relating data to functional, data aggregation, and lastly refining the system boundary. Elementary flows may be directly collected from unit process or derived from data which represent material flow. In this elementary flow should be include input and output that consider for unit process being part of the system to be studied. Information on each elementary flow should generally include, where relevant, firstly, quantities of water used, which is mass or volume. Secondly, resource type of water use. Third, water quality parameters and characteristics. Next is form of water use. Then geographical location of water use or affected. Temporal aspect of water use, and lastly emission to air, water and soil that impact to water quality. So now we move to the allocation in water footprint assessment, where it is necessary for product or service, processes and organization guidance in ISO 14044 to assign the input and output of processes to the function. Other than that, they have specified goals and scope definition basis. And lastly, the sum of the allocated input and output of a unit process should be equal to the input and output of the unit process before allocation. So, for allocation procedure, firstly, you should avoid dividing the unit process to be allocated into two or more sub-processes, collecting the input and output data related to this sub-process. Next, cannot avoid, which is input and output to reflect the underlying physical relationship between them. And lastly, physical relationship. Input and output should be allocated between the product and function in a way that reflect others' relationship between them. For allocation procedure for reuse and recycling, you need to apply in water footprint assessment, recovery process between the original and subsequent product system that in allocation principle, reuse and recycle composting energy recovery. Process from raw material to disposal. For relation between product system and allocation procedure, you need to focus on product system. And then processing material. Next is recycle in the same product. If yes, you need to close loop product system and close loop allocation the procedure. But if no, you need to open loop product system and change in the inherent properties. And if no, you need to close loop allocation procedure. But if yes, you need to open loop allocation procedure. So now, let's move to water footprint assessment. Water footprint impact assessment compliant with ISO 14044. And then it also provides further requirement and guidelines for assessing potential environmental impact related to water. When weighting is applied, it should be conducted and reported according to ISO 14044. For an example, water footprint indicator impact on water scarcity. Concept of category indicator illustrated for an impact category addressing water scarcity, which is life cycle inventory result, water input and output with indication of region and water body possibly together with elementary flow, which is impact category is water scarcity, and life cycle inventory result assigned to impact category, which is water input and output with indication of region and water body. Next is category indicator, which is contribution of water scarcity, and also the environmental relevance, which is category endpoint, which is human health, ecosystem quality, and resource. So all of this is for environmental machine. Impact categories, category indicator, and characterization models. Firstly, should be chosen based on the goals and scope of the study. Second, water footprint impact assessment method applied must be clearly described and documented. Thirdly, description should include environmental machines that are considered by the water footprint impact assessment method. Next, water footprint impact assessment method includes several category indicators related to environmental machines. Next is the naming of the impact category indicator should clearly express to which environmental machine it's referred. And lastly is as we can see, this is the graph that shows the concept of water footprint as a stand-alone assessment of part of a life cycle assessment. The impact for water footprint impact assessment. Example is water scarcity and water eutrophication. While for life cycle impact assessment, the impact category, the example is global warming and respiratory inorganic. Then is the characterization. Same also for the life cycle impact assessment. So next is normalization and weighting. Next, water footprint after weighting, and also lastly is water footprint interpretation. While for life cycle inventory analysis, the last stage is life cycle interpretation. For classification, if the calculation of the water footprint is based on different impact categories, life cycle inventory result should be assigned to these different impact categories, which is general. Method of calculating indicator result should be identified and documented. Water footprint impact assessment method should consider the potential environmental impact due to change in water quantity and or change in water quality caused by the system under the study. For geographical and temporal issue in characterization, water issue. Example, specific drainage basin, specific precipitation, hydrology, geographical characteristic and climatic, ecosystemic, socio-economic condition. And temporal aspect is seasonality. So now let we refresh back on methodological framework. Generally requirement. Do you remember? Actually, general requirement. Water footprint assessment addresses the potential environmental impact related to water associated with a product, process, or organization. They have 4 phases of life cycle assessment, which is goal and scope definition, water footprint inventory analysis, water footprint impact assessment, and also interpretation of the result. For goal and scope definition, they have 5, which is goal of the study, scope of the study, system boundary, data quality requirement, and offsetting. While for water footprint inventory analysis, we have 3 parts, which is water footprint inventory calculation, elementary flows, and allocation. So next is water footprint impact assessment, which is general, selection of impact categories, category indicators, and also characterization model. Classification, water availability footprint, water footprint addressing water degradation, and lastly is water footprint profile. And also in this topic, I have shared to you about the life cycle assessment of water footprint inventory, which is have 3 phases, which is goal and scope definition, water footprint inventory analysis, and also interpretation of the result. So, do you want to know how to do the report of water footprint assessment? If yes, stay tuned for the next video. See you next time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and also our YouTube channel. Don't forget.
So, everyone, you all already know what the method of water footprint assessment. Now, we will learn how to report water footprint assessment following the international standard. So, let's play the video.
Hello everyone and Assalamualaikum. We are back with our final video on water footprint ISO 14046. Let's see where we end at our last video. Oh yeah, let's continue of methodologies of framework. Got another 3 elements left in methodologies framework. Let's start with water availability footprint. Aim of a water availability footprint is to give an assessment of the contribution of the product process to potential environmental impacts related to pressure on water availability. Level of temporal, geographical coverage and resolution for evaluating water availability must be described in detail. The environmental mechanisms covered by the water availability footprint shall be described. Excluded potential environmental impacts related to water availability shall be identified. Water availability footprint only considers water quantity, it should be called water scarcity footprint. Next is water footprints addressing water degradation. To give an assessment of the contribution of the product, process, or organization to potential environmental impacts related to water quality such as water degradation. As example, aquatic eutrophication, aquatic acidification, aquatic ecotoxicity, and thermal pollution. Last but not least, for methodologies framework is water footprint profile. The footprint profile is a range of potential environmental impacts associated with water, and it made up of several impact category indicators results which are calculated from several impact categories. Should be transparently reported by using a qualifier. Water footprint profile may be aggregated into a single parameter. If weighting is applied, it shall be conducted and reported in accordance with ISO 14044. Weighting is applied, the results shall not be used as a basis for a comparative assertion that is intended to be disclosed to the public. Let's continue with interpretation of the result. Consists of 7 elements. Number 1, identification of the significant issues. Number 2, evaluation that considers completeness, sensitivity, and consistency checks. Number 3, consideration of geographical temporal aspects. Number 4, conclusions of the WFA. Number 5, limitations of the WFA. Number 6, qualitative and or quantitative assessment of uncertainty. And number 7, consideration of sensitivity analysis to to provide range around the reported results. Now let's move on to limitations of water footprint. Water footprint assessment alone is insufficient to be used to describe the overall potential environmental impacts of products, processes, or organizations. Several issues that make water footprint cannot always demonstrate significant differences between impact categories and related indicator results of alternative products, processes, or organizations associated with the establishment of a functional unit, development of the characterization models, sensitivity analysis, and uncertainty analysis for the water footprint impact assessment. Availability of appropriate and representative inventory data for each impact category. Setting the system boundary that do not encompass all possible unit processes for a product, process, or organization, or do not include all inputs and outputs of every unit process, since there are cut-offs, data gaps, and associated assumptions. Inadequate water footprint inventory data quality, which may, for instance, be caused by uncertainties or differences in allocation and aggregation procedures. Uncertainties are associated with spatial and temporal characteristics of each impact category. Differences in spatial and temporal resolution may lead to different water footprint results. Currently no consensus on one accepted methodology for consistently and accurately associating inventory data with specific potential environmental impacts. Models for impact categories are in different stages of development. Now let's proceed with reporting. About reporting is the term of water footprint shall only be reported with a qualifier that describes the impact category or categories studied in the assessment. As example, water availability footprint, water scarcity footprint, water eutrophication footprint, and water acidification footprint. The type and format of the report shall be defined in the goal and scope definition phase of the study. Results and conclusions water footprint assessment is must accurately to the audience. It is the results, data, methods, assumptions, limitation in transparent and details to the reader. It is also must allow interpretation to be used consistent with goals of the study to improve environmental performance if applicable, such as product and processes is needed to report. A different product system, processes need a consistency check with ISO 14044. Let's jump into the additional requirements and guidance for third-party reports. Footprint assessment are to be reported other party and third-party report shall be prepared. Third-party based on reference document and available any third party to whom water footprint assessment results be reported. There are need following aspects to be followed. General aspects. It is a commissioner or practitioner of the study, in and external. It is a date of a report. It is also a statement of study based in international standards. Goal of the study. It is a reason for carrying out study. It is intended applications. It is for a target audience and is a standalone assessment or LCA. Scope of study consists of function unit such as characteristic and add functions if missing. Functional unit consists of goal scope, definition and result performance. System boundary consists of a geographical and temporal dimension, omission of life cycle stages, process, quantification of energy and material inputs and outputs, assumption electricity production, types inputs and outputs as elementary flows, decision criteria, and organizational boundary. Cut-off criteria inputs and outputs consists of description of cut-off criteria and assumptions, effect selection results, and inclusion criteria. And last but not least, justification to the initial scope. Water footprint inventory analysis consists of data collection procedures, qualitative and quantitative description unit processes, source of data model and published literature, calculation procedure, validation data, requirements, quality assessment, treatment missing data, sensitivity analysis refining system boundary, allocation principles procedure, documentation and justification, uniform applications, and last but not least, inventory of the period as baseline. Water footprint assessment applicable. In procedures, calculation and result study, limitations of the impact assessment results relative with goal and scope, relationship impact assessment with goal and scope, relationship impact assessment results to the inventory results, impact categories and category indicator, rationale with selection and reference source, descriptions of reference to all value choice water footprint assessment report, and data indicator results reach prior normalization grouping. Interpretation comes with results, conclusions, assumptions and limitations with interpretation results, both methodology data related, data quality assessments, transparency in terms of value choices, rationales as per judgment, and if relevant, description of the positive aspects. 7th, critical review applicable comes out with name and affiliation of reviews, critical review reports, and responses to recommendations. Let's proceed with comparative accession and comparative studies. Comparative accessions come with defined in ISO 14044, standalone water footprint assessment on the limited impacts categories, life cycle assessment study used for comparative accession disclosed to the public, and subjected to critical review. While comparative studies consists of equivalence compare shall be evaluated before interpreting results, scope as where the system to be compared, compare using same functional units and equivalent methodological considerations such as scope, boundary, data quality, and so on. And last but not least, if difference between system and parameters shall be identified and reported. Let's jump to critical review. About critical review, the scope and type of critical review desired shall be defined in the scope phase of a water footprint assessment, and the decision of the type of critical review shall be recorded. Number 1. The methods used to determine the water footprints are consistent with this international standard. Number 2. The methods and inventory modeling used to carry out the water footprint assessments are scientifically and technically valid. Number 3. The data and model results used are appropriate and reasonable in relation to the goal of the study. Number 4. The interpretations reflect the limitations identified and the goal of the study. And number 5. The study report is transparent and consistent with the goal and scope of the study. Need for critical review comes with enhance the credibility of a study and need to be conducted if involve a third party. Review by internal and external expert. First, expert independent shall be performed the review, and second, the review statement, comments of the practitioner and any response to the recommendations made by the reviewer shall be included in the report. Now, we have reached the final elements in water footprint assessment. It is 7.4. Critical review by panel of interested parties. Elements, it is consists of few things. First, study commissioner select an external independent expert to act as chairperson. Second, review panel consists of at least 3 members with independent qualifications. Third, panels can be drawn from government agencies, non-governmental groups, competitors, and affected industries. And last but not least, consider drawing expertise in the scientific disciplines relevant to the important impact categories of the study. Well, we have reached the end of our part in this video. But wait, let's recap first from the first of our video. Remember the definition of water footprint? Water footprint is measures the amount of water used to produce each of the goods and services we use. The water use come from direct and indirect of water use. The water footprint comes with 3 components, which are blue, grey, and green. Did you guys remember from our second video about ISO 14046? There are water footprint assessment, which are compilation and evaluation of the inputs, outputs, and the potential environmental impacts related to water use or affected by a product, process, or organization. We also touch about life cycle assessment, or also known as LCA, which are a compilation and evaluation of the inputs, outputs, and the potential environmental impacts of a product system throughout its life cycle. We also talk about a principle. There are a lot of principles that we have been talk about, which are life cycle perspective, environment focus, relative approach and functional unit, iterative approach, transparency, relevant, completeness, consistency, accuracy, priority of scientific approach, geographical relevance, and lastly, comprehensiveness. From our third video, we have talked about methodological framework. They are general requirements where water footprint assessment addresses the potential environmental impacts related to water associated with a product, process, or organization. There are four phases of life cycle assessment. First is goal and scope definition. Second, water footprint inventory analysis. Third, water footprint impact assessment. And lastly, interpretation of the results. Goal and scope definition. It is consists of goal of the study, scope of the study, system boundary, data quality requirements, and offsetting. For the water footprint inventory analysis, consists of water footprint inventory calculation, elementary flows, and allocation. For water footprint impact assessment, consists of general, selection of impact categories, categories indicators, and characterization models, classification, water availability footprint, water footprint addressing water degradation, and water footprint profile. Technical assessment of water footprint inventory consists of goal and scope definition, water footprint inventory analysis, and interpretation of the results. And last, for our fourth video about reporting. It is need to follow the rules prescribed in ISO 14044. We have a content that consists of a general aspect, goal and scope of study, water footprint inventory analysis, water footprint assessment, interpretation, and critical review. We also talk about comparative assertion and comparative study. Comparative assertion is applied the relevant requirements of ISO 14044 and be subject to critical review, while comparative study be compared and reported for any difference. Last but not least, critical review, which are by internal and external expert panel of interested parties. Before we end off this video, I would like to welcome everyone to scan our QR code social media that title of Life Cycle Thinking and Environmental Management. We got Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. That is from us. See you when we see you. Stay safe everyone, and bye-bye.
That is such a great informative video regarding on water footprint ISO 14046. Okay everyone, we are just end with our first slot for today in conference. We're going to take a 5 minute break, but within that time, let's have some short quiz with our audience. Do you have anyone from our audience that would like to share what do you gain from our first slot about water footprint ISO 14046? Can you have anyone from our audience that would like to share something? What did you gain from our first slot, which is regarding on our 4 video on water footprint ISO 14046?
Excuse me. Can
Yes?
I volunteer?
Yeah, sure. Can I know who's speaking?
My name is Misha Azurin.
Oh, okay. Where are you from, Michelle?
I'm from Selangor. And
Oh, okay. Are you a UPM student?
yes, I'm a UPM
Oh.
student.
So currently you are in UPM or in your hometown?
I'm in my hometown.
Oh, okay. So, carry on. What do you get from our first slot in our e-conference today?
Okay. First of all, I would like to congrats for you guys that you can manage this conference, and it's really interesting because water footprint is something that people, not all people know. So some like me also, I didn't have information about this. So from all the video I watched, I found that I know now I know there is a few types of water footprint, which is 3, like you said, and I know that there is also a way to we also need to do a reporting according to the water footprint, and and overall this e-conference really helped me in the information about how the ISO 14046 is all about. And now I know that it's that we should think when we use water daily. So that's all from my point of view.
Thank you so much, Miss Misha Azuri. I hope you can stay tuned our e-conference until the end of our today's conference. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, can we have, maybe we can have another one more person to share for our first slot today? Is there anyone would like to share?
Okay. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Can I know who is speaking?
Yeah. My name is Muhammad Buzran bin Muhammad Azmi.
Oh, okay. Where are you from, Muhammad Buzran?
I'm from Faculty of Environment, Faculty of Forestry and Environment, and my course is Environmental Management.
Oh,
And
okay.
I final year student. So
Okay.
I like to share about first I want to say your e-conference is very nice and easy to understand it. And I want to say before this I only know water footprint only have a three type, and now uh, when I see your e-conference, so it give me some input and positive input, and I will know more about the water footprint. So I think it your e-conference is very nice and very understand for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Buzran. I hope you can stay until the end of our conference today.
Okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank
Good luck.
you. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I guess we have another 1 minute break. So, is there anyone would like to share also? Maybe we can have another one more person. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I guess we have almost end of our 5 minute break. So, maybe you can stand by for our next video after this.
So, hi everyone, we are back. After this, we will have the life cycle assessment video. So, do you know what is life cycle assessment? As actually, LCA is an analysis of the impact one object has on the world around it. Sometimes you ask yourself that question many times. What environmental question many times? What environmental impact does one object have on the world? How environmentally friendly were the product that I just brought? So here, we will show the video in three categories. The first category is daily use, which is cigarette by Nur Shahidi, shoes by Nur Afrika, and tires by Amirul Ashraf. So, what we waiting for? Let's play the video.
Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about cigarette life cycle assessment. Before that, I want to tell you about the history of cigarette. Firstly, cigarettes appear to have had antecedents in Mexico and Central America around the 9th century. The cigarette and the cigar were the most common method of smoking in the Caribbean, Mexico, and South America. The first patented cigarette making machine was invented by Juan Nepomuceno Adorno of Mexico in 1847. Next is top 4 cigarettes consuming country. Firstly is China, which is a record 1,163 billions. Second country is Japan, which is record 375 billions. The third country is USA, which is a record 331 billions. And the last country is Indonesia, which is a record 250 billions. There are four different types of cigarette. Firstly is metal cigarette. Next is cigar and little cigars. Third is cloth cigarette and also known as Kretex. And the last one is Bidich, which is flavor cigarette. So now, let's move to cigarette life cycle assessment. Life cycle assessment of cigarettes begin with raw materials, processing, manufacturing, distribution, cigarette use, and final disposal. Life cycle assessment of cigarettes begin with the first stage, which is raw material. Firstly, tobacco. Tobacco is harvested either leaf by leaf. Curing process play a major role in defining the leaf, final quality and characters. Next stage is processing. Leaves are sorted by stock position and quality, packed in bales, and then it separates of leaf from stem and remove all scents and non-tobacco materials. When the tobacco is dried, it packed in a case and shipped to manufacturing center. The third stage, which is manufacturing. The material that's needed in manufacturing is filtration materials, plug wrapper paper, tipping paper, brand logo in and wrapping paper. In the process, to create one long cigarette, and then machine slice the supper size rod into shorter piece, and it inserting filter at both ends. Next stage of cigarette life cycle assessment is distributions. The cigarette was distributed from the factory to tobacco shops and vending machines. 85.6% bought cigarette from tobacco shops, 7.5% from vending machines, and 6.9% from other channel of distributions. The next stage is cigarette use. The total number of cigarette sticks consumed in a year is 5.8 trillion sticks. This is based on the data reported for the year 2014. And the final stage is final disposal of cigarette. Cigarette was disposal with leachate and emission monitoring and collections. Now we look into life cycle impact assessment of cigarette. I will tell you about the facts and danger of cigarette. Firstly, cigarette is contribute to the economic impact. Tobacco production can contribute to the economy. Tax of the cigarette become country's income, and it can increase employment opportunities in the industry. The second impact is on the social impact. It preventable cause of premature death, and it increase of death rate. And it also increase the second-hand smokers. The last impact is on the environment. It can veil fire, it can cause water pollution, it can cause climate change, and freshwater eutrophication, and finally is deforestation. Now, we move to life cycle assessment result per ton of produced and consumed tobacco. Actually, every single stage in life cycle assessment of cigarette have contributed to environmental impact. Firstly, in the first stage, which is raw material. In this stage, farming enough tobacco to produce a ton of dry tobacco leaf result in 3.5 carbon dioxide of emissions. It also contribute to terrestrial acidifications. The next stage is processing. In this stage, it contributes to climate change and also to human toxicity potential. The next stage is manufacturing. Manufacturing activity contribute 13 kg sulfur dioxide in terrestrial acidifications. It also impact to human toxicity. The greatest impact on freshwater and marine ecosystem ecotoxicity level across the supply chain. The next stage, which is distributions. In this stage, cigarette distributions activity contribute 65 kg of carbon dioxide emissions per ton of tobacco. It also causes human toxicity and fossil depletion. For the final stage, which is disposal, in this stage, cigarette use and disposal drive 1,545 kg of carbon dioxide emission per ton of tobacco. Now, we talk about how to reduce the environmental impact. The first stage, which is raw materials, we must use biodegradable raw materials and we must use environment-friendly materials. For the second stage, which is manufacturing, we must use renewable energy for production, such as solar system. Next is reduce the water consumption, use biodegradable packaging, and lastly, use recyclable packaging. For the third stage, which is distributions, we must reduce the trip for distributions, use the larger lorry, and next use the hybrid transport. And lastly is sustain waste treatment practice. For the last stage, which is end of life, we must reuse and recycle the cigarette bulk. Next is recycle the cigarette packaging, and lastly is shipping packaging recycling. This is list of reference that I use for the life cycle assessment of cigarettes. Last but not least, I would like to give special credit to UPM, Universiti Putra Malaysia, Faculty of Forestry and Environment UPM, Bachelor Environmental Management, and Dr. Amir Hamzah bin Sharaai as an advisor for this subject. That's all for this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe the YouTube channel of Life Cycle Thinking and Environmental Management, Facebook Environmental Management and Life Cycle Thinking, and the last one is Twitter LCT and Environmental Management.
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. I would like to share with you guys something that is really interesting topic, which is life cycle assessment of shoes products. There are 4 contents that I would like to highlight in this video, which are the first part is introduction, second part is life cycle assessment, next part is impact to the environment, and the last part is conclusion. Let me start with introduction. Do you believe it or not, the accessories that currently cover our feet have been around 40,000 years history. A long time ago, women's and men's shoes were very similar, but in the modern era, the design of shoes for women and men are different according to their comforts and stylish. The material to make a pair of shoes also changes according to time. Traditionally, shoes have been made from leather, wood, or canvas, but in the 2000s, they are increasingly made from rubber, plastic, and other petrochemical derived materials. Let me share with you guys some of interesting facts of shoes. Do you know that? Actually, people might think that the first woman that wore high heel is woman, but it is wrong fact. High heels were first worn by men and were first worn in the 10th century when many horseback riding men wore heels in their boots and shoes. Next, there is another interesting fact about footwear. Did you know a long time ago the measurement of shoe size started with a grain of barley? During the reign of King Edward II, a royal order was issued in 1324, which pointed out that a grain of barley is an official measurement standard in footwear production. His order indicated that the length of 3 grains was equal to 1 inch. This is how the grain measurement system started to spread throughout the world. It is still an official measurement unit in United Kingdom and Ireland. As you probably guessed already, women typically own more pairs of shoes than men do. Women own an average of 21 pairs of shoes, while men has only 12 pair of shoes. But on average, only 3 pair of them are worn constantly. Besides, China was the world's leading producer of footwear in 2019, and the largest manufacturer in the world has dominated by Nike company. Then we move to the second part of the video, which I will focus more on life cycle assessment of a shoes product. First and foremost, the plan and design process is an essential part of the life cycle assessment, which involves the choice of materials, product designs, and which supplier to use for the production. This is because shoes are often complex products with many materials and parts involved in the production. Next, after plan and design, the second phase is materials production, from raw materials extraction and processing materials to final finished materials productions. Thus, the raw material will be transported to the shoes manufacturing. In the manufacturing phase, the production of shoes involves many different steps. In the process, shoes parts are often produced separately to assemble together in a later production stage. The manufacturing involves processing such as cutting, sewing, and lasting. The shoes will be packed and prepared for transport to retailer. When the shoes have arrived from the suppliers, they might be sold in the stores or online shopping and to be sold to the consumer. When the shoes have been worn by a consumer for a long time, in some cases, shoes are also repaired and donate to others depending on the quality and materials of the shoes. Next is recycle phase. This is to help prevent this environmental impact so the shoes production do not end up in the landfill. There are many programs that have been set up to help reduce the impact of the disposal of shoes on the environment, and one of the major ones that is actually created by one of the largest shoes company, which is Nike, is called Reuse a Shoes. In this program, Nike takes all used shoes and recycle the old materials and grinds them to be used as sport grounding for tennis court, track, and etc. However, most of shoes production are still end up in the landfill after they use, and some of it go to incinerator. Have you ever think the impact of shoes production to the environment? In this part, I will talk more on the impact of shoes production to the environment. One of the largest environmental impact of shoes production comes from the manufacturing stages of the shoes life cycle. In the stage of manufacturing, large amount of machinery and chemicals are required to produce shoes. To power these machines, a great amount of fossil fuel are needed, and these fossil fuel produce greenhouse gases when burned. Coal is one of the sources energy that used very often to power this factory, as it's quite cheap compared to oil or other sources of energy. Burning coal produces carbon dioxide, which eventually end up in our atmosphere, contributing to the greenhouse effect, which is not a positive effect for the environment. On average, the production of one shoe produces 13 pounds of carbon dioxide. Another aspect that is regularly overlooked and also contributes to the carbon dioxide emissions from shoes is the transportation. This is because transportation is fundamental to the marketing aspect of the shoes industry, as most footwear manufacturing companies choose to build factories in the third world countries for cheap labor. Since these factories are situated far away, transportation such as ships, airlines, and trucks are needed in order to deliver the goods to the retailer. The last step in the shoes life cycle, which is disposal, also contributes greatly to the environmental impacts of the shoes industry. According to Recycle Advocates 2018,
Americans threw away over 300 million pair of shoes each year and end up in landfill, where they can take 30 to 40 years to decompose. These shoes end up in the landfill. Ultimately, the disposal of shoes has a largest impact on the environment, much like the manufacturing, as harmful chemicals start to leak into the contaminates the soil and the water. Oh, we have reached the final part of the video, so I will conclude the overall content of the video. Hence, there is importance of life cycle assessment. Life cycle analysis, which is also known as life cycle assessment, is a primary tool used to support decision making for sustainable development. LCA is a tool to evaluate the potential environmental impact of a product, material, process, or activity. Next, LCA is a comprehensive method for assessing all direct and indirect environmental impact across the full life cycle of a product system, from material acquisition to manufacturing to use and to final deposition, such as disposal or reuse. And last but not least, the cradle to grave is a concept that has been used to accounting the concept of LCA. There are some references that you guys can be referred to know more on life cycle assessment of shoes product. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Today I want to introduce you about tire and its life cycle. This is an introduction of tire. Tire is a thick rubber ring that fit around the edge of the wheel of a car, bicycle or other. A pneumatic tire is a rubber tire filled with air under pressure and mounted around the wheel of the vehicle. Before this, tire was hard and has no air in it. It's just pure rubber and very uncomfortable to ride with it. In 2019 alone, Malaysia's sale value of manufacturing rubber tire is about 2.41 billion Malaysia ringgit. This is an example of top tire manufacturing in the world. We have Michelin, Bridgestone, Goodyear, Continental, and Sumitomo tire. Did you know pneumatic tire that we use nowadays has been reinvented by John Dunlop for his son tricycle in 1887? Second, tire tread pattern help determine a vehicle grip on the road, as well as handling, maneuver, and braking. The third is tire are actually among the most common plastic polluter on earth. This is a life cycle assessment for tire. First, raw material. Tire was made up from carbon black, graphite, natural and synthetic rubber, oil, zinc oxide, sulfur, other chemical, braid wire, and fabric. There is cradle to gate approach. Second is processing and manufacturing. Rubber tire was used process. There is Banbury, dipping, calendering, extrusion, tire building, tire curing, and finishing. This is some of manufacturing of tire. There is MRF tire, JK tire, Apollo tire, and Brilla tire in India. Pneumatic tire are manufactured in about 450 tire factories around the world that use gate-to-gate approach. Third is distribution and transportation. Transportation at all stages of the chain is done in 35-ton load capacity vehicle. Raw material will using primary plane and truck, including manpower to load them. Energy input varies with shipping fee. To consumer, many factories are built to reduce final shipping costs. Only the truck need to be used at this point. Fourth, use and consumption. The fuel consumption of each tire product throughout its use life of 6,000 km can be calculated based on the fuel consumption of a passenger vehicle, that is 7.22 litre per 100 km. The proportion of fuel consumption by the fall tire, 22%, the use life 6,000 km, and the density of gasoline, that is 0.73 kg per litre. Fifth and final is end of life. Wastewater treatment, material and energy recovery that will be used is thermolysis, co-incineration in cement kiln, mechanical recycling, ultrasound, barodestructive recycling, and mechanical recycling. Tire recycling, 44.7% used as fuel, 25% more energy than coal, same energy as oil. 12.1% converted into ground rubber, require electrical energy. This is environmental impact of tire. The environmental impact of that tire create and all the resource needed to go into each process and all the emission to air, land and water resulting from each process throughout the whole life cycle, including recycling and transport emission. Second, susceptible to fire hazardous due to their heat retaining characteristic. The smoke from tire fire, including hazardous compounds like polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon, benzene, phenol, and butadiene. CO2 emissions are useful proxy for many other impacts, reflecting to some extent impacts such as acid gas emission associated with the combustion of fossil fuel and the impact of transport. Lastly, as matter of fact, cryogenic and mechanical pulverization for reuse as filling material show the worst result in terms of environmental impact because of the high energy consumption related to that process. Did you know abandoned or stockpile scrap tire can be source of breeding ground for vectors such as rodent and mosquito? The curvy structure of scrap tire creates stagnant water pool, making them an ideal place for breeding. Second is tires are actually among the most common plastic polluter on earth. It is estimated that tires account for as much as 10% of overall microplastic waste in the world ocean. For conclusion, tires are fundamentally important element of the automotive equation. The usage generates a large amount of environmental impact. In order to reduce fuel consumption, tires should be modified by reducing their rolling resistance. The recycling of car tires can reduce their negative impact in all stages of life cycle to small degree. There is a need for upgradation of the existing tire manufacturing process, including various tire design aspects. Alternative energy sources should be identified in order to reduce the environmental impact of the tire production process. Introduce and integrate a growing number of renewable and sustainable materials into tire construction and reduce the reliance on rubber, such as innovation natural non-fiber that are being integrated into high-performance tire, bioresin, silica sourced from rice husk, functionalizer polymer that improve fuel economy, increase manufacturing efficiency, and advance tire performance and safety. That's all. Thank you.
So everyone, are you enjoy the video? Now, we will have a short break around 2 minutes before we continue to our agenda. For your information, this video is about our social media. Firstly is our YouTube channel, Life Cycle Thinking and Environmental Management. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. Next is our Twitter, which is LCT Management and Environment Management. Don't forget to follow us. All the participants can enjoy the other video and can leave some positive comment.
Okay, next is Facebook page. Participants may search as shown in the video. There are a lot of videos and photos has been posted in this page. Don't forget to like. And last but not least is Instagram. Everyone may follow our Instagram by searching LCT and do like it on our posting. Thank you. As everyone watched just now was our video regarding on social media for this course, so don't forget to follow and subscribe our channel. Now, let's continue with second category, which is category of foods of our LCA. Consists of sushi by Diana Christina, beef by Nur Akila, milk by Nur Hayani, and cereal by Saradi. Enjoy!
Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Dana Christina and today I will share with you guys about production of life cycle. I'm going to talk about sushi that become almost everyone's favorite dish nowadays. What? Do you guys think sushi just come out from the kitchen through the conveyor and voila, become your dish? Nah. Now, let's join the journey of sushi life cycle with me. Okay, first, let's start with introduction. The history of sushi begins with paddy fields in Southeast Asia, where fish was fermented with rice vinegar, salt, and rice, which the rice was discarded. Where during the 150 centuries, Japanese preferred to eat fish with rice called namanere, where it was the most popular type of sushi back then. Namanere was partly raw fish wrapped in rice and consumed freshly. However, nowadays rice is mixed with vinegar and sugar with some fish, vegetables, and dried foodstuff such as carrot, cucumber, and many more. This type of sushi is very popular till nowadays. During 1600 centuries, third type of sushi was developed called hayazushi, where it was assembled making rice and fish could be consumed together. The dish became unique, where it was the first time that rice was not being used for fermentation. Next, let's take a look at how many percent approximately each seafood contribute in sushi. We got here tuna with 75%, salmon with 57%, catfish with 32%, crab with 22%, shrimp with 59%, and everyone's favorite, octopus with 49%. Okay, we are done with introduction. Now, let's move on with sushi life cycle. Life cycle of sushi going through few process and it started with manufacturing. Seafood will arrive to the chef freshly and all ingredients will be mixed up if needed depends on the chef menu and skills such as rice, seaweed, and vegetables. Dip sauce and side dish are served as well such as wasabi. Second is raw material extraction. best seafood will be chosen. As a knowledge, farm fish from Japan, US, Norway, Britain, New Zealand, and Canada are among the best where these countries have strict standards on cleanliness and will not find any parasites in their farm fish. Third is distribution and transportation. Sushi typically served with soy sauce, wasabi, and gari, or called as pickled ginger. Sushi normally served at room temperature. This is because as cooling the rice will destroy the proper texture and flavor of the sushi. The fish on top of sushi, typically served by raw fish, are cooled as to maintain the freshness, while some are heated such as eel, or deep fried such as tempura. Fourth is consume or packaging. If dine-in at the sushi restaurant, sushi being served fresh on conveyor belt. Nevertheless, sushi can still be packed in plastic container as to protect the freshness of the sushi. Some sushi restaurants provide takeaway service only. It is recommended to eat sushi and packaging as soon as bought it. Final stage is eat it, or in production life cycle, it is end of life for the sushi. Now, let me share with you steps to enjoy the sushi. First, receive your plate of sushi on conveyor belt and grab small amount of soy sauce. Second, dip sushi into soy sauce and put little wasabi if need extra spice. Third, eat the sushi and remember, always one bite only. Fourth, eat a piece of pickled ginger in between each roll or in each bite as to remove the lingering flavor. Fifth, rinse and repeat until you are too stuffed to move or you run out of sushi. Sixth, but how about the leftover sushi does not finish at the restaurant? Leftover sushi will be composed since food waste is the best natural fertilizer and sushi is a fresh dishes. Let's get some extra knowledge. Do you know who is the best sushi chef in the world? Here are top 5 ranking. Started with Jiro Ono, they have been served 60 years in sushi industry. Followed by Eiji Ichimura with 45 years serving. Third rank goes to Yoshiharu Kakinuma. Next is Mitsuhiro Araki. And the fifth rank is Masaki Koyoma. How about the best sushi restaurants? Since there are too many sushi restaurants in the world, here are some lists of among the best sushi restaurants in Malaysia. We got Empire Sushi, Sushi Taka, Sushi Mentai, Nippon Sushi, Sushi King, Sushi Zanman, and Sushi Hibiki. Next, let's take a look at the impact to environment by sushi. This is quite sad news for the sushi lovers out there. First impact is causes by overfishing, where high demand have pushed the favorable fish to the brink. Estimation current population nowadays of the fish is just 2.6% of its historic size. 90% of salmon are produced by sustainable Alaska fisheries. However, while Pacific salmon face increasing threats from habitat destruction and overharvesting. Second impact is on avocado, where in 2014, avocado's production reached more than 95% rather than ordinary days. But growing cells have a high cost for fresh water, where it takes about 90 gallons of water are needed to produce fresh grown avocado. Besides avocado is seaweed, where seaweed are known as rich in antioxidants and vitamins. But nowadays, warming ocean due to overharvesting causes the water threatening seaweed and seaweed farmers' livelihoods, thus affecting the seaweed production. Next is soybean and paddy, where 75% of soy is used for farm fish. Due to growing demand, soy production has become the second largest agricultural driver of deforestation. And for the paddy, its rice production requires large flooded areas as to cover the high demand. But then, this increased the gases generated by greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrogen oxide. Thus, these events contribute to global warming. And lastly is the impact of excessive calories by the consumers. too many calories being consumed where consumers must be careful with portion size intake since sushi rolls can quickly add up. One roll of sushi might contain more than 500 calories. Therefore, this event can add up padding to waistline, and we absolutely did not want that, right? Sticky rice. It is made with vinegar and added sugar to make the rice sticky and adhesive. However, the added sugar spikes insulin levels to regulate blood sugar levels and might cause groggy, cranky, and serious cravings to the consumers, and this can lead to health issues. After all that impacts, we need mitigation to overcome. But how? For seaweed issues, an initiative from WWF is supporting exciting innovations for sustainable seaweed farming, including farms that push cool and nutrient-rich water toward the sea surface to promote seaweed growth. For soybean, WWF is working with the soy industry to adapt to more sustainable practices, especially on sustainable raw material that we use to mix up together to produce soy sauce. For paddy, WWF supports an eco-friendly rice farming technique called the system of rice intensification that reduces water use about 30% while increasing crop yields and farm incomes. This technique has been used in few countries such as India. Besides that, WWF is working with local communities to prevent the construction of pebble mine, which could have devastating commercial and environmental impacts of tuna. Lastly, for decreased overfishing, WWF works with salmon farms to help achieve Aquaculture Stewardship Council certification as to encourage sustainable practices and reducing the environmental impacts of open-pen salmon farming. As conclusion, everyone can consume sushi as much as they want, as long as they will take concerns on the impacts of environment, also on their health matters. By here are the references that we use along the video information. My name is Diana Kisna binti Holilul Shukri, students of Bachelor of Environmental Management from Department of Environment, Faculty of Forestry and Environment, Universiti Putra, Malaysia. Big applause to my supervisor for this course, Dr. Amir Hamzah, Sharaai. Before I end my sharing, such a big honor if everyone would like to hit the button to follow our social media. For Instagram, everyone can search alias LCP LCM. For YouTube, you guys can subscribe to Life Cycle Thinking and Environmental Management. For Twitter, please do follow alias LCP Management. And lastly, for Facebook, do like page Environmental Management and Life Cycle Thinking. That's it from me. Thank you so much for your time and stay safe everyone. Assalamualaikum and bye-bye.
Hello everyone! Have you guys know about Life Cycle Assessment or LCA? Life Cycle Assessment is an approach to evaluate environmental impact of a product component from raw material to the end of life. Now, let's focus in beef production. What is beef? Beef is the culinary label that is used for meat from bovines, specifically domestic cattle. Beef can be collected coming from cows, oxen, and heifers. Globally, cattle meat production has more than doubled since 1961, which was increasing from 28 million tons per year to 68 million tons in 2014. United States is the world's largest beef and buffalo meat producer, producing 11 to 12 million tons in 2014. Other major producers are from Brazil, China, followed by Argentina, Australia, and lastly India. The growing of human population that contribute increasing agriculture industry which changing demand on meat. The figures show trend cattle production in Malaysia from 2014 to 2018 which increasing every year. This is because beef production is one of Malaysia's important agriculture industry. The beef consumption in this country is made up of meat from cattle and buffalo. In 2020, the government has targeted to raise the self-sufficiency level of beef to 32.7%, while they slaughter more than 450,000 head of cattle each year. Other than that, the increasing of food production such as restaurants, supermarkets, and Western food may increasing demand on beef. Such an popular menu is beef stick, beef sausage, sushi beef, beef burger, and others. In addition, there have two different nutrition from type of beef that which cattle consume grain and white cattle eat grass only. The cattle eat grass are more nutrition rather than cattle consume on grain. There have 6 stages of life cycle assessment of beef production which from material to the end of life beef. The first stage is cow-calf. Calves are bred and calves are born and raised every year on farm. They are grazing on grass pasture and using with their mother, while manure or animal waste is used for fertilizer. After calf then follow weaning. When seed until 8 months, calves are weaned from their mother until we find a new herd of cows. After that, they move to prepare be a livestock market. Calf leave farm and sold to the market to stocker between 6 until 12 months. There we monitor the weight and change into lean protein before processed at factory. They also need to give daily care such as injection, vitamin, and good balanced diet. If okay, the calf will proceed the process for slaughter and packaging plan. Processing beef calf is to sell at restaurants, supermarket, and retailers. Then they will go transfer to customer for export or import using trailer, ship, or cargo for domestic or international. Lastly, the beef will sell at food production such as restaurant, supermarket, store, and others which they transfer in varieties of menu. For example, burger, sushi, steak, and others. The customer will buy, cook, and eat. The beef calf provide nutrition to human and animal health such as protein and zinc, but cannot eat frequently because can impact to be obesity. Lastly, it will transfer into manure or waste, which have negative impact to the environment if it higher consumed. The environmental impact of meat production because widely increasing agricultural practices. All agricultural practices have been found to have a variety of effects on the environment. Beef and climate change are the issue today. Global warming generates from 70% of nitrogen oxide, fuel combustion, and upstream fish from industry and transport. 60% deforestation happens, which more contribute to greenhouse gas emission. Net fossil energy use, which 60% from feed production, manual handling, transportation, which release carbon dioxide, methane, and nitrogen oxide. Water use are also higher in beef production. 50% of blue water use from feed production, purchased feed, and also drinking water. And the critical is 1 burger equals 3,000 liters of water. Lastly, effect to human and animal health. If improper hygiene from feed production, which are from raw material to the end of life, will great risk to human and animal health, especially improper animal manure when it direct discharge of animal to waterways and pre-collection to groundwater. Livestock manure contain numerous pathogens like bacteria, virus, parasites that can transmission to E. coli, hepatitis A, and also impact to the nearby area and food chain organism. So, the climate change is actually in your food. In conclusion, reducing on beef is the most effective way to reduce environmental impact. How? Be vegan. You can change the lifestyle from beef to vegan if it also helps save the land and decrease gravity. What is interesting is 1% can save 290,000 gallons of water a year. However, beef production can be sustainable when we compose in manner or using organic fertilizer. This is because it has nutrient nitrogen from manure waste which help increase soil fertility and crop product, but in a balanced quantity. Lastly, change biodiesel to biofuel for transportation or production. Biofuel derived from plant algae material or animal waste by anaerobic digestion, and it is renewable energy unlike petroleum or other fossil fuel. These all can minimize the greenhouse gas emission to the earth.
Dairy products play a significant role in human diet. However, some people claim that milk are good for diet and some claim that it harms the environment. Milk is the basic drink of every mammal diet after birth. Basically, it has nearly all the necessary nutrients to keep growing and sustain life. Since the earliest time, mankind has got the milk of goat, sheep, and cow as a food. And today, the term milk is synonymous with cow milk. Milk contains water, fat, protein, lactose, and mineral. Nutrients in milk are important to healthy teeth, healthy diet, and stronger bone. However, the production of milk around the world are not evenly. The biggest production of milk in 2018 is Europe, United States, Pakistan, Brazil, China, Russia, Turkey, and New Zealand. Milk production started on farms, where cows graze grass or consume imported feed. After that, dairy cow are milked using mechanical vacuum milking machine. Milk is transported from farm to processing company in insulated tanker truck. After transport to factory, milk production begins. In this processing stage, electricity, water, cleaning agent are used. In manufacturing stage, milk goes through packaging process. After finished packaging, milk will transport to the store. And then you can consume it. But wait, what happened next? Can you predict what happened to milk packaging? Yes, empty bottle will go to the dustbin. And finally end up at landfill. Wait a minute. If milk good to our diet, why it's so controversial? The truth is, agriculture and farming has significant impact on the global warming. When livestock are grazed at a large scale, the amount of methane produced is a big contributor to global warming. Some fertilizer that farmers use also release nitrous oxide, which is another greenhouse gases. Milk production also caused many forest land change to a farm. This also increasing carbon footprint. And some people agree that milk production also involves animal cruelty. So how about change to plant-based milk, such as soy milk, coconut milk, almond milk, and oat milk? If we compare soybean milk with cow milk in terms of protein, soy milk can beat the cow milk. And some researchers study state that production of soy milk use less fossil fuel rather than cow milk. Every production has negative and positive side. So now, as consumer, you can make a right decision. So, thank you. See you next time.
Rise and shine, everyone! Hello, I'm Sarah. What are you having for breakfast today? Well, this morning I had cereal for breakfast, and now I'm wondering how is the life cycle of the cereal? In this video, I will talk about the life cycle of cereal, the impact along the life cycle of cereal, and the recommendation. For those of you who doesn't know what cereal is a food made from grain that is eaten for breakfast. Examples of grain are corn, rice, and wheat. Most of the cereal are recommended to be served with milk. Here are some facts about cereal. Do you know that an American consuming an average of 150 bowls of cereal per year? It's calculated that almost 50% of Americans eat cereal as breakfast. Cereal is an easy source of food and also existed a long time ago, since 1863. No wonder it's a popular meal. Cereal also contain vitamin and mineral. Vitamin that are contained in cereal are B2, B3, B5, B6, calcium, and ferrum. From all the vitamin and mineral mentioned before, cereal can give you healthy blood, help nervous system work properly, help in releasing energy, reduce tiredness, and increase cognitive development. Energy and cognitive development is important to keep us energetic and focused in daily activities. Other benefits are keep the immune system work properly, give you healthy skin, encourage normal cell division, and healthy bone and teeth. Now, let's move on to life cycle assessment of cereal. In production of cereal, first, we need to consider its ingredient. Ingredient is included in one of the raw material. Most of ingredients for cereal are from agriculture product. Agriculture production of cereal are grain and other ingredients involving soil, water, seed, pesticide, fertilizer, and energy. The top 5 ingredients of cereal are corn, cocoa, wheat, sugar, and rice. Most of the ingredients not produced in one place and imported from other parts of the world, such as corn from Argentina, rice from Spain, Thailand, and Egypt. Wheat and its derivatives are sourced from the UK, Spain, and USA. Cocoa produced in Ivory Coast, and sugar is imported from France, Germany, and Africa. Use of energy also involved in this production. Electrical energy involved in both agriculture and manufacture. Water also used for both watering the crop and also manufacture. The truck icon indicate the transportation used in transporting the ingredient, packaging material, product, and waste along the life cycle. The production of packaging material and packaging involve water, detergent, energy, and packaging. Next phase of life cycle is consumption. This is where us as consumer pick our favorite cereal from the store rack. Milk is also included in the life cycle of cereal because milk is in list for serving suggestion for most cereal. Last phase of life cycle is waste management. Waste management is involved in different life cycle stage. As cereal is popular among customers, it is estimated that cereal contribute to 40% to 50% of world food wastage. The food waste include the agriculture and manufacture waste. Some consumer made a good choice by recycle the cereal box. Along all the process mentioned before, there is some environmental effect involved. So now, let's learn more about the environmental impact. First, we will talk about the impact of cereal production on biodiversity. Every year, there are 1.5 species lost in vascular plant. For animal, the highest is 0.014 loss in amphibian species. The main cause for species loss is use of land, mainly in cocoa production. Cocoa plants have very low yield and hence high land requirement. Cocoa plantations situated at biodiversity that are under threat. Now is about the impact of cereal production to ecosystem service. Loss of 0.53 metric tons biomass production, which equivalent to 1.4 kg for every kg of cereal produced. About 20 kg of soil are lost per every 1 kg of cereal production due to erosion, total up to 7.8 metric tons per year. The next impact on ecosystem service is groundwater regeneration and water infiltration reduce. Main contributor for all this impact is also from production of cocoa, followed by rice, then wheat, and lastly sugar. Lastly, we will talk about the impact from consumption of cereal. Most of the cereal are recommended on the packaging of the product to be served with 125 ml of milk plus 30 grams of cereal. Therefore, it's considered as additional impact to environment. Adding milk to cereal increased the biodiversity impact by 7% of reptile to 28% of birds. There are some recommendations that are listed to cater the environmental impact. First is by focusing on ecosystem in agriculture basis. Every food industry must work in hand with agriculture production to implement the method in reducing impact of agriculture to ecosystem. Next, the further development is needed to address biodiversity and development. We are already at the end of the video. In conclusion, the life cycle assessment is presented in cradle to grave, which involve from raw material to the waste disposal. Life cycle of cereal give impact production on biodiversity, ecosystem, and consumption. To watch more video like this, don't forget to subscribe and click like and share the video to others. Let's learn together. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the informative video by our second category of LCA. I would love to remind our participants, don't forget to fill up Google Forms in the link that provides in the chat box to claim your e-certificate and free e-gift by end of this conference. Also, please stay tuned until end of this conference as we have photo session for our memorable collection. Participants are encouraged to open cameras during photo session. Thank you. And now, let's enjoy our relaxation video while take a short 2-minute break.
So now let's continue with the last category of stationery, which is wooden pencil by Iza Nazura and paper by Nur Shahira. Enjoy the video.
Hi everyone, in this video I will tell you about the life cycle assessment of wooden pencil. Firstly, I will talk about the what is wooden pencil. Secondly, I will talk about the life cycle of wooden pencil, then the impact of wooden pencil to environment, and lastly, the conclusion. Do you know what is wooden pencil? So, let's check it out. Actually, wooden pencil can bring us to our childhood. Wooden pencil are the most thing that we almost use in every day for writing and drawing. Early, red cheddar from the Kenya and US is the favorite one. But today, most of the wooden pencils are made from instant cheddar. What are materials used for wooden pencil? So firstly is graphite or lead. Secondly is wood, metals and rubber as a eraser. So now we move to the shape of pencil. They have 4 shapes of wooden pencil, which is hexagon, triangle, rectangle, and also a circle. This is the type of wooden pencil. They have about 20 types of wooden pencil. So did you know in Malaysia they have 65 feet height of the world's largest pencil? Castel has displayed the largest pencil that manufactured near to Kuala Lumpur, which made by Malaysia wood and polymer. Now we move to the next topic, which is the life cycle of wooden pencil. Life cycle is to see the process on how it is made and used. First stage is the raw material extraction. The most important ingredient in a pencil is the graphite. Most people continue to call it lead. The wood used to manufacture pencil must be able to withstand repeated sharpening and cut easily without splintering. Next is manufacturing process. The graphite is mixed with clay according to the type of pencil being made. The more graphite used, the softer the pencil and the darker its line.
Transportation, where the trucker hauls pencil to warehouse or railroad, and also trucker hauls pencil to retail store. Then for utilization use, customer will drive to store to buy the pencil and use, then will discard the pencil. For disposal recycling, pencils eventually discard and pencil hauled to landfill or incinerator. They have 5 steps to making a wooden pencil. Firstly, you need to select form. Second, select groove. Third, graphite with insert. And then sandwich the form. Then cut the pencil. So now we will see the impact of wooden pencil to environment. Every product have the impact to environment. Firstly, the raw material consumption. Wooden pencil use more raw material than the plastic pencils and 2 times more materials of recycled paper materials. Next is water consumption, where the wood case consume about 10% of the water. Then solid waste. Wooden pencil generate more solid waste and become various recycled products. Atmospheric emission. Wooden pencils are emit less gas than plastic pencil for carbon dioxide, nitrogen oxide, and particulate matter. So what we can conclude, wooden pencil has pros and cons. Maybe we can move from wooden pencil to paper pencil. Recycled paper pencil is widely available at stationery. It is promoted by government for benefit to environment. Preserving the natural resources of the earth has become essential. Using eco-friendly pencils means you are contributing towards a larger benefit of our environment. Some studies found that pencils manufacturing lead to deforestation on large scale and leading to environmental crisis. So we need to reduce and reuse it. So next, paper pencil help to creating awareness and educating people on sustainability. We can teach our kids about the importance of sustainability in developing in future generation that will take care our future environment using eco-friendly products. Lastly, the process of manufacturing recycled paper pencil is unique and safe. The roll-on method is preferred for wrapping the paper tightly around the graphic. The unique concept ensures that the lid of the pencil is not broken even when it is dropped from the height. So I prefer to use the paper pencil rather than wooden pencil. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and also Twitter. Thank you for watching.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Today we will learn about the life cycle assessment of paper with Mr. Boy. Let's start. Mr. Boy, what we will learn in this topic?
In this topic, we have 4 content, which is introduction, life cycle of paper, impact of paper, and conclusion. Let's start with the first content, which is introduction.
Mr. Boy, what we will learn in introduction?
In introduction, we will learn what is paper, from where the paper appears, and what type of paper.
What is paper, Mr. Boy?
In English word, we call it paper as paper. The word of paper are derived from the Latin word, we call it as papyrus. Paper is a thin sheet material produced by mechanically or chemically. The process of cellulose fiber derived from wood, ranks, grasses, or other vegetable sources in water.
Oh, so from where and when the first paper has been produced, Mr. Bot?
Let me see. China is the first nation in the world who started producing paper during the Eastern Han period. They are produced the paper only by using their hand, because in those days there was no more technology existence like me.
Oh, so what type of paper we have, Mr. Bot?
In the world, we have so many types of paper, and this is a few types that we always use in our daily life, which is repro paper, tissue paper, cardboard, paperboard, fine art paper, coated paper, and newsprint. Okay, let's we go to the content number 2, which is life cycle of paper.
What we will learn in life cycle of paper, Mr. Bot?
In life cycle of paper, we will learn how was paper created and how does a piece of paper end of their life. As you can see, this is the life cycle of paper. Let me tell you, the first we will start with the extracting of material, and then we will go to the manufacturing and production, and then we go to packaging, transportation, use, and the end of life.
Mr. Bot, can you explain more about the life cycle of paper?
Of course I can. Okay, let's start with the extraction of material first. Okay, to make paper, we need to harvest the tree and then cut into logs and then transport to the mine for processing. And also don't forget about the salt. The salt also harvest to bleach the paper. Next, we will go to the manufacturing and production. After the tree come to the factory, they will be debunked and chiped into wood chips. And then it will cook with the chemicals until it's turned into a pulp. So to make it white and clean, we need to bleach and add some chlorine. After it's become clean, we place on a screen to drain the water and join the fiber together. This is fed through heated rolls that press the paper flat and dry. After manufacturing and producing process, it will go to the packaging process. Once the paper is made, it is wound into a giant roll, where it's then cut into all the different sizes of paper and packaging. After that, it will be to the transport process. The finished paper product are then transported around the world by using variety of transportation, which is lorry, ship, and train. After transport process, we will go to the usage process. Paper used in variety ways, such as writing, drawing, packaging, and also as presenter of information. People use paper every day, but often not used resourcefully. And the last process is end of life. After use the paper, it will go either to the rubbish and end up to the landfill, or it will go recycling and it goes back to the manufacturing stage and make new paper.
Oh, now I know how the paper made and end of life of paper.
Okay, now we will move to the content number 3, which is impact of paper. What do you mean by the impact of paper, Mr. Board? In this content, we will learn the impact of paper toward environment. The life cycle of paper is damaging to the environment from beginning to end. It starts off with a tree being cut down and ends its life by being burned, emitting carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. It is over 30 million acres of forests are destroyed annually, and all habitats in forests will be in danger. Next, what many hope to reduce, reuse, and recycle. Unfortunately, an overwhelming ends up being dumped into a landfill. Waste from paper is a big issue. It is easy to forget that production of paper also have a devastating impact on the world we live in. Paper manufacturing use up to 40% of a global goods. The process of manufacturing paper release nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and carbon dioxide into the air, contributing to pollution such as acid rain and greenhouse gases. And the last one is conclusion. In conclusion, we will learn what's the way to reduce the negative impact. I know this. There are several ways to reduce negative impact. The first one is scanning document lowers operation costs and save times. Even the simplest of tools like email and electronic filing increase productivity and help the environment. These are strategies that can accomplish many goals, saving time and money. Making the switch from paper to digital is quick, easy, and effective. Next, paper is recyclable, but not everyone recycle. So we need to make an effort to be consistent about recycling. We are come to the point where people need to contribute to a greener environment by changing the way they manage their personal waste. Remember to reduce, reuse, and recycle, and encourage everyone you know to do it. And the last one is buy recycled paper and encourage the paper industry to use environment-friendly ways to manufacturing paper. As a consumer, you can influence how industries produce the product that you buy. Recycle 1 ton of paper can save 17 of trees. There is the reference list that we use in this topic. Thank you, and don't forget to follow our social media. Bye!
Apa tak play? Play lah.
you for watching the video regarding on tips to conserve water use. Before we end our e-conference, I would like to invite everyone for photo session as to keep our memorable memories. Everyone may open your camera.
Okay, semua dah ready? Okay, siap. Okay. Satu, dua. Sekejap Ada one more. Ada. Okay, one more. Satu, dua. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you to all the participants. Again, I would like to remind everyone, don't forget to fill up your participant today. The link provided in the chat box is to claim your e-certificate and free gift. I hope you guys will gain something benefits today and don't forget to stay safe. I'm your MC for today, Ilana Zura, and my partner, Dina Kistina. From us, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you everyone. Thank you for joining.